podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are the Podcast. It's Gav and you join us bang on full time as we are here to chat about Sunderland 0, Arsenal 3 at the Emirates Stadium. Unfortunately, the lads did succumb to their title winning, well, it looks like they're going to win the title, quality. And yeah, although we gave a much better account of ourselves than we did at Brentford and West Ham, it is still a difficult scoreline to take, but we're sat here with a lot more hope, I think, going into the Liverpool game than we probably did after those two performances. And I'm joined first up by Johnny Hawley. Hello, mate.
All right, Gav, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad considering we've just been beat 3-0. I felt worse after 3-0s, I've got to be honest. Also with us is Andrew Smithson. Hello, mate.
Hello, Gav. Evening, everyone. Evening, lads and lasses.
Yes. So, we lost 3-0, lads. 1 goal in the first half, 2 in the second half. 3-0 flattered Arsenal, I think, Johnny. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, because we never really felt like we were completely out of the game until it went to 3-0, I think. Even at 2-0 down, you still felt like we could have created a moment or two from somewhere. We were still, we were still getting a few men forward and trying to make things happen. And, it wasn't like the 3-0 against Man City, put it that way. That was a game where we really were outclassed from start to finish, to be honest, barring a little spell. This game was not that. We were in a contest and, on another day, things could have gone a little bit differently, but yeah, I don't think we can have loads of complaints, just quibble over a goal or two.
I think that's about fair, isn't it, Andrew? And you do have, well, it's a massive factor. We're playing the team who are top of the league, probably the best team walking the planet at the minute, are going to win. They're going to win multiple trophies this year away from home. And it's a hallmark of a team who are going to win things. They don't even have to play well to win 2 or 3-0. Like, it's just, and all of the commentary about Arsenal this season has been about how they don't particularly play well, but they win games. And I think we've just seen that again today. Like, they didn't have to play well. At times, Sunderland looked like we were really stretching ourselves, digging in, grafting just to stay competitive. And I think that's what you've got to do against Arsenal. But you can see why only Man U have gone there and beat them this season. I mean, they just got the job done, didn't they? And again, I think 3-0 probably does flatter them a bit, but that's what title winners do.
Yeah, my feelings exactly, Gav. 3-0 does feel a little bit harsh. And on paper, it's a bit of a worry that we're starting to take a couple of beatings away from home. But in terms of how the game actually went, I don't think it was a 3-0 loss. It was just 1 or 2 moments of absolute quality. The first goal was a cracking strike. The second one, I think they pinched the ball off us in our final third, and then before you know it, the ball's in the back of the net. So yeah, it wasn't like they were tearing into us and ripping us apart. We matched them for most of the afternoon, and although it's disappointing, I don't think there's much shame in losing to a team like that at the moment.
Yeah, that's really, really fair. And of course, there's going to be probably criticism of individuals and mistakes with some of the goals, but I'm honestly just not arsed. Yeah, we can pick at it. There are things to pick at. Look, there are moments in the build-up of those goals where you can go, yeah, we should have done this better or that better, but I just think generally we did really give a good account of ourselves. I mean, for once, I actually took notes during the game, which I know is something Chris and Martin do quite often, and just because I want to have a clear picture in my own mind of the game. And honestly, the majority of the things I've written down are just positives, like very little concerns during the game. After half an hour, I said, I think this has been brilliant from us. Our defending's been great. And then when we've had opportunities to get the ball into the mixer, we look dangerous. Almost half an hour into the game, and the only chance had been ours, which was that Brobbey one early on. I was saying things like Saliba had been lucky to still be on the pitch. I genuinely think we played really well in that first half. It was a proper sucker punch, that first goal, because we just didn't deserve to go behind, Johnny. And when I talk about quality and teams who are going to win the league just making it count, that was the epitome of that. Because really, to that point, I don't think Arsenal threatened us at all. And then there's one one mistake there where Alderete is dispossessed or gives the ball away, and that's only the start of the move. Like, Arsenal build up to push us back, but then Zubimendi, that goal is just a real piece of quality in off the post. I mean, there's an angle of it from behind the goal where it actually bends out then back in. It's like it's a lovely goal. Irritatingly, it was quality, and yeah, I don't think we'd really deserved to go behind at that point. But it just shows you that the best teams on the planet will punish mistakes, and it was one little mistake, and it was 1-0.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of the goal that Trossard scored against us at the Stadium of Light. In a similar sense, was one where he just, there's no backlift. He manages to get the shot away and it arrows into the top corner. To some degree, you've just got to hold your hands up and say, fair enough. Sometimes, as you said, these are the best team in England, probably the best team in Europe, possibly the best team in the world at the minute. They're going to have the players who can produce something.
They are. Johnny, I said that before the last time we played them as well, because they have been over the season. You can see they're going to go on and win things. It's just what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And then we'll get onto it, obviously, but like the second half, there's a moment where they're making a sub and they're bringing a couple of players off and they're bringing Gabriel Martinelli and Victor Gyökeres on after 60-odd minutes. Like, the depth they've got in their squad's insane. So they're going to hurt you. And yeah, like you say, it was a lapse in concentration from Alderete. And that's one of my few frustrations with the game, is because, look, a game like this, away from home against a team this good, you've got to spend... I know we had a decent amount of the ball for a lot of the game, but you're going to spend a lot of time defending. So you're going to get through more defensive actions, so there's more chances for you to make a little mistake or, half a yard too slow to something or whatever. So the defensive stuff, I think you can excuse away to a degree. The Alderete giving the ball away is a bit more frustrating because that's under our control. You need to be trying to eliminate mistakes as much as possible. And he's done it a few times and got away with it this season, so you'd maybe hope that he can curb that side of his game a little bit. But having said that, he's no kid, is he? He's not going to have a fundamental character change between now and the end of his Sunderland career. So possibly just got to accept it. It's part and parcel of his game. But yeah, for me, a little bit frustrating because we shot ourselves in the foot a bit there. But as I say, you hold your hands up when a team like Arsenal scores a goal like that. There's certainly nothing Robin Roofs could have done.
That's right, Andrew, isn't it? It was a tough one to take, but like I say, I think in the first half we acquitted ourselves really well. I think Brian Brobbey was unbelievable at times. The way he just, to be honest, right through the game up until he went off, I think he just was excellent at holding up the ball, giving Saliba and Gabriel, particularly Saliba, a really hard time. And I just want to ask you about your thoughts on the refereeing in that first half, because I was livid with the ref. The amount they got away with. Mainly Calafiori and Saliba. The pair of them just got away with absolute murder, but Saliba should have been off for me. I think he made enough fouls to justify 2 yellow cards, and he got away with it time and time again. It wasn't just Brobbey who was on the receiving end of it. It was Ballard as well when we had set players. They're absolutely all over them. And I know Brobbey and Ballard give as good as they get, but when the decisions aren't going against them, often you look at it and you go, actually, we probably should have had a foul there. It is getting really frustrating for me, Andrew, that we keep getting these referees who just seem to ignore the fact that there are fouls on our players because they're physical. I think the referee was Samuel Barrett. I've never heard of him, but this was just another one of those days, where the referee gave us very, very little, particularly in that first half.
It's really frustrating because I think we did match Arsenal in a lot of areas, but in order to get anything against Arsenal, you've got to be physical. But it didn't seem as if the levels were set. It felt as if Arsenal could do a lot more to us than we could do to them. They would get away with it. They seem to love pulling shirts. The amount of times they got away with that in particular was infuriating. I'm really keen to know what neutrals think of that, because I hope it wasn't just a case of me watching the game through my red and white tinted Sunderland spectacles. I really want to know what a neutral would say, because I feel as if, like you, Gav, we didn't get anywhere near as many decisions as we should have done. My only fear is that am I just saying that because it's so quickly after the game and I see everything through Sunderland eyes. But yeah, it didn't feel right to me. I mean, I don't know if I'm just being over the top. I don't know if we should have had a penalty towards the end of the first half there when Ballard gets his shirt pulled and wrestled to the ground again. Maybe that might just be me being a Sunderland fan and looking for an excuse, but it could have been very different at half time. That goal that they scored, if that had gone in the side netting, or if that penalty had been awarded and we'd gone in 1-1, I think it could have been very different, the game, and I don't think anybody could have complained because we did well. It just felt that at times we were playing Arsenal and the ref.
Yeah, what's your thoughts on that, Johnny? Particularly the one that Andrew mentions there just before half time. And the commentators actually alluded to it as well. I don't know whether the VAR looked at it or not, but Zubamendi on Ballard right before half time, I think we've got a strong case for a penalty there. And again, I bring it up because it's Ballard. Ballard and Brobbey, for me, get penalised more than anyone when they're up the other end of the pitch and being fouled. It's as though, well, they're big and physical, so you've got to expect it and they give as good as they get. I mean, I think that was a penalty, if I'm honest. And on Saliba as well, just when we're talking about refereeing, the foul he got booked for was on Siddiqui. Siddiqui lofts it over his head and gets the better of him, and he just pulls him back. It's like there's no excusing that. The referee can't not give him a yellow for that. But I've got so many notes here from over the first half of just Brobbey being dragged to the ground by Saliba. It's honestly, I think particularly our first 45, we were really hard done to.
It's the inconsistency that gets everybody riled up, isn't it? And that's always what it comes down to for me. You can forgive individual bad decisions from referees because I think everybody has to accept that, especially, and I think this has come to light in the age of VAR, like there is no actual agreement or uniformity between even fans over what the correct decisions are in most cases. You know, there's always at least a sizable minority who'll disagree with any given decision. So, you know, I don't expect that the referees get everything spot on perfectly. That's fine. But like you say, Brobbey and Ballard in particular for us are the ones who make it very obvious. There just is nowhere near the same standard applied as to what constitutes a foul and what doesn't. And the specific incident at the end of the first half, at the time, I wasn't really that moved by it, so I didn't remark on it that much. But you did see throughout the first half especially, but through the whole game really, every time Ballard was up for a set piece, he was obviously targeted like by us. You know, we were trying to get the ball to him. And the Arsenal defenders were all over him every single time. But because Ballard's big and strong and he's able to give as good as he gets, the referees turn a blind eye. I think you spot on. And Brobbey, I mean, first half today for Brobbey was just ridiculous. The amount of times, like you say, Saliba hauling him to the ground every 2 minutes. I can't remember who the player was now, but there was one where Brobbey had dropped in on the left-hand side and he's getting pulled all over the place, basically stood in position almost, just getting dragged around by, I think, might be Gabriel. Referee finally gives a free kick and Brobbey just sort of turns and looks at him and he's almost like, or Zubamendi it was, sorry, not Gabriel. And yeah, Brobbey just turns to the referee almost in disbelief. Was like, have you finally given us a free kick? This has been happening all half, and this is where you finally draw the line. You know, it became farcical at points. There was another one as well where Brobbey's like almost running after the referee, just throwing his arms out, pleading, you know, please, you have to be able to give one of these fouls. It became it was like a sideshow, wasn't it? For the whole first half. It was just a running almost mini game you could play of see how many times Brobbey's fouled and the referee gives nothing. It is annoying as well because he's essentially handicapped, isn't he, compared to your average centre forward who'll probably get, you know, 20-30% more fouls given for them and get the team up the pitch more and win the set pieces and all the rest of it. So there's a serious point lying beneath the laughing at how ridiculous it actually was, but yeah, it was particularly bad today, particularly blatant.
Yeah, and then we went into half-time, Andrew, unchanged. The players come back out, and I thought we started brilliantly. Like, really early in the half, we were pressing Arsenal really high up the pitch. Like, that was noticeable, just how many players we were pushing forward. We went man to man, and we were stopping David Raya from playing out, making him go long. And making them go long, we were just mopping it up. Alderete and Ballard won everything in the air. They just, Jesus wasn't going to win headers against them two. And we just got at them, I thought. And it was, 3-4 minutes into half, Talbi has a shot, which was a really good move from us. Brobbey held it up. Siddiqui got involved and laid it off to Talbi, who got a shot away. Rhea spilled it. And there was a couple of other chances, I think, a minute later when Roofs played a long ball forward, and that had caused a bit of mayhem. Maybe if Talbi had been a little bit braver, we would have won it, but David Raya got there. I actually think David Raya, by the way, was their best player, which in a 3-0 says quite a lot. But again, those unpunished fouls on Brobbey just kept happening as the second half had crept on, and I think it was Gabriel, like sort of 10 minutes after half time. Massive foul on Brobbey goes unpunished, and they actually broke away as a result of it. In the same move, I think it was Enzo Lefebvre was fouled in the box by Calafiori, and the referee, blatant foul. Enzo falls on top of the ball, which is like, and even the Arsenal players stepped away from him thinking, that was a foul. And the referee just played it on. It was just really frustrating. But regardless of that, I actually think the lads just kept on going, kept plugging away. Brobbey kept on going, holding up the ball, holding players off. And I don't know if you lads spotted it or not, but there was a stat on the screen about 14 minutes into the second half where it was just the possession stats. And actually, Sunderland was shading the possession. We had more of the ball, which is crazy, really. We don't really do that often anywhere, never mind away from home against Arsenal. I just think up until that point, Andrew, we actually started the second half pretty well. We didn't have loads of chances. I think there was only probably that Talbi one. But in terms of winning second balls, winning our duels and staying in the game at 1-0, I think we did all of that. I think we actually played pretty well.
Oh, we did. And yeah, you're right in that we were winning the ball a little bit higher up the pitch and we were penning them in for a few moments. There was that chance where Hume controls a really difficult ball and then weaves into the box and it's just nipped off his toes. So yeah, there was bits and pieces happening. I mean, it's cold comfort now because we're on the end of a 3-0 loss, but I don't think the Arsenal players will be in the changing room there feeling as if they've breezed through the game. As you say, they've had to resort to fouling Brobbey. That's the only way they've been able to handle him. We've had a few other half chances in bits and bobs and kept them honest. So yeah, people might see this score and just think, it was a routine win for Arsenal. They've just cruised through it. I think we have given them a little bit to think about. The Lefebvre, where he was fouled in the box, I'd forgotten that. But yeah, that was an absolute joke, that particular decision. How he wasn't given a free kick for that, I don't know. My only slight criticism is that we saw from Talbi's effort that we can panic them. I wouldn't mind just taking a few more pot shots when possible, although I do accept the other side of that is, well, if you start taking more pot shots, you potentially lose the ball a bit more. It's a bit like that first goal. I've seen people complaining that we didn't rush out to close the shot down, but I think there's an element of that is deliberate because we've seen that at Man City and elsewhere. If we do rush out to close down the long shot, you're then leaving gaps in the box and they'll just dink it over us. So it's a difficult one. I would like us to have a few more chances, but I accept why we can't be too gung-ho. And we started the second half well, Gav. We didn't embarrass ourselves, put it that way. We've given a decent account of ourselves, and it's one of them where you go away, you just have it to say fair play to Arsenal. They're a quality side.
Yeah, and I had even more notes just saying things like we were stroking it around well. We'd had some really good pressing high up the pitch, Johnny, and then came came the blow, 2-0. And at that point, I just felt so hard done to, because up until the 2, we'd been the better team in the second half. We had definitely been the better team, but like the first goal, there was one slight error and we were punished for it, because Nordy didn't clear it properly. He probably should have cleared it before he did. And when he did eventually clear it, it wasn't a great clearance, and then that put Arsenal in possession of the ball in our third of the pitch. But it was a world-class pass from Trossard into Havertz to lay off Gyökeres. Like that pass from Trossard was just absolutely superb. Havertz laid it back to Gyökeres, and it's a great finish, in fairness. 2-0, but I don't know what you felt like. I was absolutely gutted, because I just thought, we were, like, I actually fancied us to get a goal. I was thinking, if we can keep playing like this, we might actually get a chance and score here. But again, quality team has quality in it, and you make a mistake and they punish you.
Yeah, and you bang on, like the feeling when it went in, it felt like they'd sucker punched us, which is a weird thing to say when the top of the league team who you're playing away scores the second goal to go 2-0 up against you. But I totally agree with you. I do think we were the better side for the start of that second half. And yeah, it's as you've said rightly, Mukiele should clear it earlier, I think. And then when he does clear it, he's half trying to pass it out and get it up the line and sort of put it into an area for someone, and half trying to clear it. So it's a little bit 6 and 2 threes, not quite enough of anything. But you can forgive that one so much more than you can forgive the opener, I think. Because, like you say, the pass from Trossard's brilliant. I think he gets it through 3 players, doesn't he? It sort of squirts right through the middle. He just picks it. There's a tiny gap between those 3 players' sets of legs. He finds the ball. It's brilliant. It really is. And then, well played from Havertz. Gyökeres, he's not going to make a mistake from there. The sheer power alone takes it past roofs, if nothing else. Because I think he gets a touch on it, doesn't he? He manages to sort of fling his right arm out in the vague direction of the ball, but you're not putting any blame on the keeper from there. So, another instance where Arsenal's qualities just won the day. And I think, to be honest, to credit them, I do think that was probably their game plan. Like, you've mentioned the possession stats, and I do think you could. Sometimes you look at the possession stats and you think, the game's not felt like that. I'm surprised. This one didn't really surprise me, because it did feel like we'd had a decent amount of the ball, but I think Arsenal were clever and they actually let us have it sometimes in areas where we couldn't really hurt them.
Well, in fact, there was a point in the first half where it flashed up on the screen and we only had like 34% of the ball. And I was like, that doesn't feel right. It feels like we've had a lot more of it than that. Like exactly the same as what you've just said. It felt like we'd had quite a lot of the ball.
Yeah, exactly. But then when it came up in the second half, we, in that sort of middle third of the game almost, we really did feel like the team who were more in control and getting our foot on the ball. But like I say, I think Arsenal have possibly recognised that we're at our very best when we've got some space to attack, when we're able to hit teams on more of a transition, on a counter-attack. Whereas, because their defence is so good, and let's not forget that as well, we can criticise our attack if we want, but they have got probably, again, the best defence in Europe, I think you could argue. They shut off the space really well, and I think they knew if they were a little bit deeper, that would both limit us in terms of how we can attack, and it would bring us out a bit. And I think you could see both teams at times were trying to draw each other out by maybe the keeper delaying getting the ball started moving from the back so you could bring an extra man or 2 up in the press or whatever it was. I think they did at times in the game, not the whole time. Sometimes we did just knock the ball about well. And there was one period, I can't remember, it might be in start of the second half, knocking it about with some lovely one-touch passing, a little outside of the foot flicks and stuff. But sometimes I do think Arsenal were maybe herding us around the pitch a little bit, which, again, you can credit them for that, because it's good defending and it's good tactical play from a very good side.
Yeah, and then there was a couple of other things as the game went on, Andrew. Siddiqui went off. Looks like he took a knock, but I'm going to hedge me bets and say that wasn't too serious, because he'd went down and it looked like he was clutching the back of his leg. But I always think if it's a hamstring, you wouldn't carry on. You would know. You'd be like, I need to come off here. It just felt like the game was over by that point, and we just went, right, you've took a bit of a knock. Let's get you off. There's no point. We've got another game on Wednesday. And I guess you could say the same for Trey Hume and Brian Brobbey as well, because they came off with sort of 5-10 minutes to go. But we did get to see Nilson Angulo for the first time, and he had a couple of nice touches, not that he had too much time to do it. Decent ball into the box for a free kick that we had towards the end. But we did actually, when we made them changes, we did seem to pile forward a bit and try and get something. So even at 2-0 down, while I'm saying it felt like the game was over, the players on the pitch were getting all the way up the pitch and trying to get something from it. And that's actually where we got done for the third. That was on the counter-attack, where we piled bodies forward, and it was actually a half-decent delivery in the box, but there's that little bit of luck, which teams when they're 2-0 up and top of the league just seem to get. There was that little bit of luck where it comes out to Arsenal. I think it was Martinelli it fell to, and obviously him being probably the quickest player in the Premier League doesn't really help when it's 90-odd minutes into the game and he's pretty fresh off the bench. But he breaks away. You could say Ronaldo should have done better with the bounce, I think, but it's late in the game. He's probably a little bit tired. And yeah, they counter-attack, and it's square to Gyökeres, and he finishes it off as you'd expect him to do, and that was game over, 3-0. But we did still try and go to the death, didn't we? Really, even when it felt like the game was over.
We did, and that tells you something as well. Johnny mentions there was times when we were playing some lovely one-touch football and what have you. And here we are, 2-0 down against Arsenal. The players still believe in themselves enough to try and give it a go. There was no sense of, let's just shut up shop here and try and go for damage limitation. They still felt that they could get something, which is good to see in a way. That third goal, I don't know about Ronaldo there. I can see why he didn't want to be more aggressive, because if he goes for that ball and mucks it up, or he's put ever so slightly off balance, then it's a clear run at goal anyway. So
I also wonder if he just might have a red card in the back of his mind, being the last man.
Possibly. So I know you're not meant to let the ball bounce, but I could maybe perhaps understand his thinking there. Again, I don't know if this is just sour grapes from a Sunderland fan here, but Dan Ballard's being pulled down in the box from that initial ball. The lad's got hold of his arm and is dragging him down. Now, might not have been enough for a penalty, but it's just that frustrating thing about, you'd be fairly confident Arsenal would have been given the decision had the tides been turned. So yeah, we didn't give up. Perhaps Siddiqui and a couple of those players we brought off were because it's a busy week. We've got an important cup tie. We've got Liverpool to come. And let's face it, the people we've brought on aren't bad. We've just brought on our new £20 million winger, and in Truder, a lad who Liverpool were absolutely desperate to sign. So, it's right that they get given minutes as well. This issue, if I may just take us quickly back to that second goal and the potential for it being an error from the clearance, or should he have cleared it sooner? 9 times out of 10, we don't get punished for that. Yeah. And Lebris is probably happy that we've tried to maintain possession. He probably doesn't want his players just lashing it up front and allowing the opposition to come back at us and pen us in. It's a bit like what we said with that first goal. Lebris probably doesn't want a load of players running out of the box, losing their position and leaving gaps in front of roofs. And again, he probably doesn't want us just lacing the ball and having no hope of keeping hold of it. The unfortunate thing is, you can maybe get away with that against, I don't know, who did we beat last week? Burnley. You can do that, and everyone's saying fair play to Sunderland for trying to keep hold of the ball. It's just against Arsenal, you're gonna get caught out. Hopefully, in the weeks that come, that type of decision doesn't come back to haunt us, and maybe next time Mukiele just waits a second before lashing it clear. Maybe next time he then finds a man and we go on the break. It could work like that. So I hate losing. 3-0 on paper looks bad, but in general, I didn't see anything there that worries us going forward.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think we can actually go into Wednesday night with a bit of positivity, because I'm certainly, it sounds mad to say that you've just lost 3-0 and you're feeling fairly positive, but I just think when you take everything into consideration, over a 90-minute period, we played pretty well. There was plenty to take from it. We've played worse this season and drawn games, actually. You're playing Arsenal away from home. It is what it is. So, yeah. And again, I know it's daft of us to do this, but looking on social media after the game, some of the comments I just think, do you even realise who we're playing? We've just lost to Arsenal. It's like, it is what it is. But, for me, I'm pretty happy with that. I think, I say pretty happy. I'm not happy we're losing, but I'm relatively happy with the way we played over the 90 minutes. I think, actually, the feeling coming out of this is very different to the feeling coming out of like West Ham and Brentford. I think we will play with a lot more verve against Liverpool as a result of this. We'll take our licks, but it is what it is. We're not gonna fret too much over this one. Man of the match, Johnny. The Rotor Report poll that I put on, the options were Brobbey, Hume, Diarra, Ballard. Who would get your mark?
I think I'd give it to Brobbey, to be honest. I thought he was really, really good. Held the ball up really well, as I think you've both already mentioned. Really put himself about. But again, a trend over the last sort of probably month or so is more of his flicks and his layoffs and stuff are coming off. And I think there was some more of that on show today. So, more positive signs for him going forward. Obviously, he'll need more service if he's going to be scoring, but kind of did everything else that you can do, I think, today as a centre-forward in an away performance like that. So, yeah, he gets my vote.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing him against Van Dijk on Wednesday. That should be fun. What about you, Andrew? Who gets yours?
Brobbey would be high up for me. I don't think he even made that short list, but I might have said Ronaldo,
Well, up until the third goal, I would have said yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Was Mukiele on that list?
No. Again, I can only pick four, and I'll probably left them two off because of the fact that they had to play the handling goals, I guess.
Oh, no.
Being harsh.
No, it's not being harsh, but I think across the team there were a lot of players who were probably like 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
Yeah.
They did well, they played well, but just maybe one or two moments meant that it didn't fall their way. And you could probably say that for the team in general. We did all right. Wasn't embarrassing. Just wasn't quite enough either.
Yeah, I think we should just put a little word in for Trey Hume as well, by the way. Played really well, and I think after the reaction, I should say, from the West Ham performance, and a lot of the question marks were specifically around Hume and him getting a place in that midfield or whatever position we actually call it. But I thought he, as well as somebody can play when we get beat 3-0, I thought he was good. Nice on the ball, and he was putting a lot of pretty decent deliveries in from set pieces as well.
Yeah, I was going to just add that there. I think his set pieces were really good. Like, every one of them caused problems. They were all put into dangerous areas, and often I've been a bit critical of him for that this season when he's had the opportunities from set plays. They've not quite been there. But you've got to remember as well, by the way, physically, Arsenal have been so good this season. Their strength has been in set pieces. They didn't threaten us today on set pieces, and when we had them, we made them panic a bit, and that's why I said I think their goalkeeper was the best player, because he dealt with them really well.
Roofs was good. Roofs was good from their set piece as well. I thought, you're right. We defended their corners in particular really well at times, and I know he didn't catch everything. There was a couple of punches / you could call them flaps maybe, but I thought Roofs handled the pressure they normally put on keepers really, really well.
Yeah, Andy on the website gave it to Noah Siddiqui, who wasn't on our list. So you're right, Andrew. It could have been one of probably 5 or 6 players, actually.
Gav, you just reminded me of another incident there when you're talking about their goalkeeper. Roofs again. Roofs was good, but their goalkeeper. Did we pick up a yellow card in the?
Yes, it was Diarra.
That was another one that was just. It's no way a yellow, man. We haven't lost because the referee screwed us over. Or I'm not trying to claim anything like that. But there were times where you're just thinking, man? Let's get these right.
Andrew, at 0-0 and 1-0, if the referee's performance is better, we win free kicks, maybe penalties. So you could argue it was definitive, because by the end of the game, it's 3-0 and it's fair enough, it's game over and we've been punished for mistakes. But when we were still in the game, there were definitely moments like, honestly, I think Saliba should have been off for 2 yellows. He made more than enough fouls in our first half. If they're down to 10 men, it's a different game. The Zubamendi foul on Ballard before half-time, If it's 1-1 and they've got 10 men, Arsenal, it's a very, very different game. So I would argue that maybe we didn't lose it because of the ref, but it definitely changed the course of the game the way that the officiating went.
Yeah, possibly. And again, we've all made this point. Some of those times you're describing fouls from Arsenal going unpunished, you could maybe accept it if Sunderland were doing similar and also getting away with it. But there wasn't that joined up level between the two sides. So yeah, you're right that it might. There wasn't any howlers from him though. I doubt Lebris is going to be talking to the Match of the Day cameras now, screaming for him to be put off the referees list. But you make a fair point, Gav. He probably did hamper us.
Yeah. 3-word reviews. I'm going to let you two have a minute or so to think of one of your own because I'm going to come to you at the end. But 3-word reviews from the Roper Report Twitter followers. Thank you very much for sending them in if you did. Paul Rackstraw says, can't really complain. Robin says, never 3-0. Jeff says, on to the next one. Akko says, 3-0 flattered Arsenal. Tucky said, not too bad. Velo Chef says, work in progress. Stu B says, ref loves Arsenal. Mike says, improve away form. Harsh. I mean, he's right, but, after Arsenal. Matt B says, need more goals. Kev Hope says, lost 3-0. Lee Clark, not that one, hopefully, says, on to Wednesday. And now you're one of us, says, keep the fight. Joe Braun says, compete against anyone. Jock says, never a 3-0. Joe Lewin says, learned a lot. Tony Bang says, never 3-0. Carl Trotter, 3 costly mistakes. Kyle says, ref was shite. Elliot says, very shit defending. Steve Richard says, on to Liverpool. And Robert Armstrong says, fucking hate London. And let's round off with this one. Ian Price, let's not panic. Johnny, what's yours?
Move on quickly.
Yeah, indeed. Andrew?
Still chasing Europe.
Love it. Yes. We will be back in the morning with a full Sunday review. And as we threatened a few weeks ago, this time it's not a journalist pod. So it's a different kind of episode of Sunday Supplement. It's going to be me, Chris and Martin, I can't remember the last time we did a pod together, like a normal football pod. So that should be fun for us three. So make sure you catch up with that tomorrow. That should be out early in the morning as we are recording very early in the morning. We've also got on this week coming up on Monday, we've got a podcast with Sky Sports presenter Dougie Critchley coming up on Tuesday. And then we'll have your Liverpool build-up on Wednesday. It's going to be a packed week on Roker Report and How Are the Podcast. So get subscribed to How Are the Podcast if you're not already. Head over to rokerreport.sbnation.com and read all of our fan-written content there. Make sure you're following us on social media. Thank you very much, Jonny and Andrew. Been a pleasure, lads. Well, sort of a pleasure, I guess. We did lose, but, as always, been nice crack.
Pleasure all mine.
Yeah. And thank you to the listeners. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.